Welcome back. This is Robin Minds. Before we went on the break, we were talking about the anyhowness of Nigerians and, of course, how sometimes we see what we call selective justice. Right about now, let's talk about men. If you're a man watching me right now, I want to ask you, how are you? Because we live in a society where it seems like men's voices are not heard. When you want to be an emotional person, when you want to express your emotion, you want to express yourself, the question will be, no be man you be. So I ask you again, how are you? As we celebrate International Men's Day, we just want to spotlight how men are being treated in the society and what is the concept of toxic masculinity. If a man expresses his emotion, does that make him weak? Does that make him not man enough? Discuss breaking up the man up myth. In the studio is a legal practitioner, Babayemi Olaniyan. Welcome to the program.
Thank you for having me.
So I'm going to ask you, my brother, we're celebrating International Men's Day. How are you?
You know, it's been long someone asked me that question, but I'm fine. And how are you too?
I'm surviving. I'm surviving. So why is it that when men try to express themselves or to express their shortcomings, they are being shut up?
Okay, thanks for having me. First of all, I think it's the culture that we found ourselves in Nigeria. So a man is brought up as strong, dependable provider, right? So you are growing up with that mindset. So you're growing up doing that. Okay, emotions aside, let me do the hustle, make the money, provide for my family, and hiding somewhere in between is happiness, that the man is searching for. And most men are now taught that your fulfillment comes from providing for your family. So it's when the man might find fulfillment from providing for his family. Most men now, and that's why you see a lot of places, recreational centers are bubbling at night, because most men have found that as their place of finding happiness after providing for their families.
Okay. You just made a salient point, but we're going to get back to that. Why a lot of men would rather go to the beer parlors after work as opposed to driving home. So we'll talk about the family system, how men's mental health are, especially when you're a married man. But that would be a later conversation. Right now, let's talk about the concept of toxic masculinity. This is a phrase that is being thrown around at every single opportunity. Can we define, in your own terms, what toxic masculinity is first?
So toxic masculinity will be a system where a man is not able to show his emotions, and if he shows them, is portrayed as a man that is not strong or a weak man. Right, so a man is not allowed to show his true emotions, show his true feelings, say them out, maybe even cry. Right, I mean, if a man cries, they're like, what is wrong with you? Why are you crying?
But is that toxic? You know, from your definition, it sounds like that is not toxic at all. From your definition, it sounds like that is healthy.
Right, so it now depends on the man. So and different men have different ways they deal with their issues. Some men would maybe cry it out quietly, right? Some men would use anger and shout. Some men would just go and take a drink, right? So different men have different ways but the toxicity comes from how people interpret it, right? So it's not about the man himself. The man might be fine, but someone just says, why are you doing like this? You are doing like someone that doesn't know what he's doing. That is when it now becomes toxic. So the man might be fine on himself. The man might want to cry, and after crying, he might feel okay. But then someone else says something that says that is not how men behave. So there's a way men behave. There's a way our culture have created a system. We have put a placard: men do not cry, men do not show emotions, men do not do this. So that's where the toxicity comes from.
I like how your mindset is, and I like how you defined it, because it shows the kind of person you are, and you found a way to just say it from your perspective. Now, let me give you a glimpse of what the general perspective of toxic masculinity is. Now, the general perspective is, if as a man you exert any form of authority, right? Let's say, for example, you are firm. You are very firm and very assertive in what you're saying. So if you don't want something, you're like, hey, do not do that, and you're given an express instruction. Some people might perceive it as you are showing off your masculinity, and that is being toxic. You know, some people would interpret you not being emotional about certain things as toxic masculinity. So as opposed to saying, please, can you help me get that phone, right? People define toxic masculinity as, hey, get that phone for me. And some people might interpret it that you're telling me to get that phone for you simply because you're a man and you feel like you have the right because of your gender to command me to do something. I don't know if you get what I'm trying to say.
I totally get where you're coming from. And it's not toxic masculinity. Everybody, and I think it's the way God has created each one of us, male and female. Those are the two genders. I have to make it clear, male and female, right? So a typical man would grow up, especially if you're now the firstborn, and you have younger siblings. It's easier for you to give directions. It's easier for a man to give directions to his family or give directions to people that do this. It doesn't now make him toxic, right? The fact that he's giving commands or he's giving directions doesn't turn to toxicity, right? It's a situation of he wants to get things done, right? And that's how the man can carry out his activity. And that's why a lot of people now say men should have, please, don't just say go and do this. So we tell you, please go and do this, or go and do this, please, at the end of it, just to tone down this supposed toxic masculinity.
Okay, so let's get back to the family system and how fathers play a role in how men turn out today. Now, do you think that our African fathers, a typical African father that would not want to see any sign of weakness, according to him, do you think they have a role to play in how our men turn out these days? Because a lot of men cannot express their emotions simply because of the kind of background they had. What are your thoughts on that?
I totally agree. If you grew up in a normal African setting, your father and your mother, most times, most women have their mothers to easily go to say, this is happening to me, that's happening to me. But most fathers are rarely around for the child or for the male child to be able to express his emotions or talk about what he's going through at time. But the women, the mothers are able to easily guide the ladies in how they should behave. So most times you see that most men will learn behaviors, pick up traits, either from outside or from things that they see people do, not from conversations. Rarely do African men have sit-down conversations with their male children.
Okay, so we're going to quickly talk about how to fix all of this, but the statistics are very scary. A man is more likely to commit suicide. You know, the amount of men committing suicide daily, it's skyrocketing every day. So how can we fix this idea that men are not allowed to express emotions?
I think it's, I remember back in the social studies in secondary school, they will tell you that the family is the nuclear unit of society. If we can get fathers to start speaking to their sons, it's going to have a ripple effect. So imagine from generation to generation, the way I've passed it down is how generations have passed it. I've done it before now, where fathers don't create that enabling environment for their sons to speak to them. So if we start from a generation that says, okay, yes, I and my son can have good conversations. I and my son can play games together. I and my son can take a drive together. I and my son can play video games together, right? And we keep, and at that system, because a male child would normally want to bottle things up, but until the environment is safe enough, right? So most times your father is beating you because you have gone to go and play football, or you have gone to go and, or you have done something, and so you have just created that system of fear for that male child, right? And you see that's why most male children are close to their mothers, because rarely do their mothers beat them. I mean, most people are not going to be close to whoever is beating them, whoever is going to shout at them, right? So until we have fathers that are going to be able to create a proper balance, right? That I can whip you, but yet I can still create a good environment for you to thrive in.
Okay, now some people might also argue that sometimes the men now come off as weak, and when a man becomes too emotional, that it's on their shoulders to be a leader. Now, how do you define leadership from a male perspective? Okay,
so leadership is the ability for a person to be able to carry out certain activities and carry them out with people, right, to achieve a defined goal or a defined result. Now, where you have a man and he has set goals he wants to achieve, right? And then he's able to carry out those goals, provide proper and clear objectives on how he wants to carry out those goals, right? You can now say that that man is a leader. It doesn't necessarily have to be that he's shouting or is
aggressive.
or aggressive. You can be quiet, right? You can be calm, and yet make things move.
Okay. I like that. Let's now talk about how sometimes men feel like their worth is tied to their financial power, how much you can afford. How can we fix this? And first of all, is it a good thing that a man's worth totally should be tied to his financial power?
Again, we're looking at a systemic problem. When you go for events, who are those that are recognized, right? So if two men park their cars side by side, one drives the latest range and one drives maybe a Corolla, right? Who are people going to look at and say, this one is doing well compared to this other guy? So it's a society. So until we have a general overall of our mindset and the way we look at life, we're going to keep going around this circle, right? Of that it's whoever has more finances that is doing well. But again, and we have to now redefine what is wealth and what is well-being, right? You can have wealth and not be happy, right? You can have so much money and then you're not happy. I think now we should look at fulfillment. What most men should chase now is: are you fulfilled? Are you happy? Can you sleep well at night? Right? Do you have, is your family thriving? Are your kids able to at least go to school, come back and say, daddy, this is what happened in school, right? Are you able to reach your goals and achieve your goals? Those are things that men should look out for rather than just financial strength or financial capability.
Amazing. Just very quickly, because we're almost out of time. How can we as men achieve healthier masculinity?
I would say by having good cluster of men that are in the same sector or in the same system or at the same level, right? Or
some sort of brotherhood.
Yeah. So a friend of mine, Adele, has a group called Better Man Initiative. So you could just have different groups like that. So you could all be in a group where all of you, it's easy for you to share. But most times, the problem with most of those groups, it now becomes an influence group or a show-off group. And then a demand that is just coming up might not feel so welcome or so free in that system. But those type of groups help. Or having just even one friend that you can just say, oh, hi, Hero, this is what I'm going through. And Hero gives support and vice versa. So having that support system would help men going forward.
You know, sometimes it's when you share a personal story that people can understand what you're going through. Has there been any points in your life that you felt less of a man? And what happened?
I won't say I felt less of a man per se, but I had a lot going on at the same time, right? So I had just started my law firm. So I was trying to understand. Before then, my dad had died. I started my law firm. I started doing my master's at the same time. So it was a lot juggling all that together. But with time and then with faith, because I'm a person of faith, it's like you pray and then you trust that you are in the right path and you just keep pushing. You can't give up. I make this joke and I say that whatever you do in this life, just eat and don't give up. Once you eat good food and don't give up. Just keep on moving.
I like that, and thank you so much for sharing that with us. I really appreciate it, and that got me a little bit emotional because I've been there as well. Mine was, as a 21-year-old, I went to meet my girlfriend's mother and father to ask for a hand in marriage, and they said that I did not have money to take care of her. And yeah, it's a real story. Well, my brother, I wish you all the best, and yes, to all the men out there, please do not feel less of a man because you simply expressed yourself. It is okay to cry sometimes. It's okay to find solace in the brotherhood. It is okay to speak to someone. Do not attempt anything bad because you can, sort of go on with life. All right? We're going to take a short break, and when we come back, Robin Mind will continue. Stay with us.
Give me some reaction, just